was three things that I was thinking about and I kind of wrote down, which was discipline, patience, and positive thinking. So starting off with positive thinking, I think that I had to really instill this in my life as I got older and as I got out of this bubble when I was out of university and I was out of sports. Positive thinking was something I thought I had in me already, but I really didn't. So one thing I did to kind of improve my positive thinking was thinking about what is the best outcome when it comes to something new or something that I was going after. So most of the time, I always click to negative thinking. I think everybody clicks to or clings to negative thinking. And negative thinking has a big impact onto the things that you are achieving or currently going after. So, what I did to combat negative thinking was I thought about, well, what is the best thing that could happen out of this situation instead of going straight to the negative? If I think about a positive outcome later on in the future and I dream about it or I have in my mind like, okay, what if it happens this way and it happens every way that I thought it would happen instead of thinking about this really bad situation that's going to happen later on. Like, get rid of the negative thinking by combating it with what's the best that could happen. And I think that really took me a long way because sometimes I would get stuck into having anxiety and kind of in this depressive attitude because I was clinging straight to the negative. I know it feels like it's easier said than done, but this is one of the things that I did for myself to kind of improve my negative thinking. And if it helps you out, that's even better. But the mind is truly powerful. And I believe that the mind contributes to so much more. When I was doing sports and the sport that I was in, track and field, you use 90% of your brain. A lot of the rest of it was just muscle memory. And it was the little small stuff that you had to get right, but 90% of it was so mental. If you weren't going into a race completely tuned in and completely positive on your outcome, you were going to fail, period, point blank. So when I apply this to life later on in real world situations, things are pretty much the same way. Think of the positive outcome that could happen out of your life. You don't have to go straight to the negative. Half the time that we think about the negative stuff that's going to happen in our life, it never really happens. Line up the scenario in your head. Think about the best outcome when it comes to career, when it comes to school, when it comes to things that you're anxious about. Think about it in the most positive way instead of going straight to the negative. Second thing I want to talk about is really patience. Patience is so important. And I know this is probably like one of the things that I struggle with myself. I know that having a good deal of patience can take you a long way. I believe that when I was in track, it was a lot of things that I faced when it comes to performance. When you are running track, you can either, it could be a slow grind or it could be you're just really talented and you're pumping out great times all the time. But for the most part, most people don't have that talent to where they can get out there and run a crazy fast time in a race or just perform extremely well 24/7. Your body's going to break down, health, all of that stuff happens. But I had to truly have a slow grind when I was in sports. And that kind of taught me that patience is everything. Knowing that when it comes to performing, I'm making improvements every single competition. That kind of helped me with my patience. At the same time, it was very frustrating because you want to get to a certain point at a certain time, but life doesn't really work out that way. Sometimes we have to sit at this period of time and just coast and grind, 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 and then boom, we start to take off. And that was kind of how I felt when I was in sports. Like I was sitting at this stagnant point for a very long time. It was probably like a couple of years. And then I started to gradually raise up, and then I'm hitting great times, and then I'm going to nationals, and then I'm getting a national championship, and then boom, it's like a finale. But you have to have a great deal of patience with a lot of things. Make sure that you are letting things sit and giving things a try so that you don't just give up so easily on things. I know it can be really hard. It was several times where I wanted to quit and I wanted to just be done with the sport because I wasn't achieving the things that I wanted to achieve at the times that I wanted it to. So when you think about that and apply that to life, we have a lot of things that we set out to do at a certain age or say certain time. I think that it's important to sit down and really pray about things, pray about direction. Pray that God really lines you up in the direction that you're supposed to go so that you can take your own pace and you can run your own race. Because that was another thing when I was running and I was really competing and I was just performing well. I was still comparing myself to a lot of people that were either younger than me or older than me. And I was like, yo, how are they running this time? And I'm still sitting at this time, at this age. I need to be doing better. But no, it's run your own race. When you run your own race, nobody can really stop you. You are in your own head, you're running your own race, you're having your own journey. So you're going to be proud of yourself. And you will see that when you focus on your own progress, a lot of the other people and those things, it just doesn't matter. Having a great deal of patience is vital because if you don't have patience, you end up quitting things early or you end up giving up very easily. Last thing I want to talk about is discipline. And discipline has been another thing that I still work on to this day. Nobody's perfect here, but I'm trying to help you out with discipline. Discipline is something that you really have to put together and formulate a great routine to have great discipline, I feel. When you have a great routine, you have things in order in your life and you have a set schedule, things can work out so much easier and discipline becomes so much easier. Discipline fits in the same category as like motivation and having the will to do things. Discipline is in that same arena. And I feel like when you put discipline on a pedestal, having the motivation, having the will, having the positive thinking, that all follows along. Because when you have the discipline, you will do things in routine, you'll have your same set schedule, you're grinding, and you know that in the back of your head you're getting better. But as I said earlier, it could feel like a slow grind and slow progress, but you know you're getting better and you're set on the goals that you want to achieve and you know that you'll reach them. So when you have discipline, you think about those goals and you're like, I will achieve these goals. And I know that it'll be a steady race and it'll be my own journey, but I will get there. It was one sermon that I learned doing the things that you have to do now to get to where you want to be. So do the things that you have to do now to get to where you want to be. And that really stuck with me because I was always sitting in places where I felt like I didn't truly belong and I wanted to be at this point, but I knew that I had to kind of stick it out and be disciplined in order to get to that next level. So when I stuck it out and I had the discipline, I ended up achieving way more when the next level came for me, whether it be a promotion in a career or I was doing better at sports. That's just how it worked. I stayed at these points. I had the patience, I had the discipline. When that time came to where I was leveling up, it was worth so much more. Discipline, positive thinking, and patience.